In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, let those who would sacrifice this life for the hereafter fight in the cause of Allah. And whoever fights in Allah's cause, whether they achieve martyrdom or victory, we will honor them with a great reward. God Almighty has spoken the truth. His Eminence, the Master of Resistance, the righteous servant, has joined his Lord as a great martyr, a brave and valiant leader, wise and insightful, faithful and believing, joining the eternal, luminous caravan of the martyrs of Karbala in the divine and faithful march following the path of the prophets and the martyred imams. His Eminence, Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah, the Secretary General of Hezbollah, has joined his great and eternal martyred companions, whom he led for nearly 30 years, guiding them from victory to victory. He succeeded the leader of the Islamic resistance martyrs from 1992 until the liberation of Lebanon in 2000, the divine victory of 2006, and the rest of the battles of honor and sacrifice, all the way to the battle of support and heroism for Palestine, Gaza, and the oppressed Palestinian people. We offer our condolences to the master of the era. May Allah hasten his appearance. To the guardian of the Muslims, Imam Sayyid al-Khamenei, may his shadow last. To the great religious authorities, the fighters, the believers, the resistance nation, our patient and struggling Lebanese people, the entire Islamic nation, and all the free and oppressed in the world. We also extend our condolences to his honorable and patient family and congratulate his eminent son, Hassan Nasrallah. May Allah bless his soul, are receiving the highest divine honors, the medal of Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, achieving his greatest wishes in the loftiest ranks of faith and pure belief, martyred on the path to Jerusalem and Palestine. We also extend condolences and congratulations to his martyred companions who joined his sacred and pure procession following the treacherous Zionist airstrike on the southern suburb. The leadership of Hezbollah pledges to the most noble, sacred, and precious martyr in our journey filled with sacrifices and martyrs to continue the jihad in confronting the enemy, supporting Gaza and Palestine, and defending Lebanon and its steadfast and honorable people. To the honorable fighters and victorious heroes of the Islamic resistance, you are entrusted by our revered martyr, his brothers, who were his impenetrable shield and the crown of heroism and sacrifice. Our leader, his eminence, remains among us in thought, spirit, path, and sacred approach, and you remain loyal to the promise and commitment to sacrifice and resistance until victory. So that was a statement issued by Hezbollah upon the martyrdom of Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah. Treacherous, horrible shit. They literally used 80 tons of bombs to kill this dude. 80 tons of bunker buster bombs to kill this guy. Made right here in the US. This is why, like I said before, I'm not like strikes are good, right? The International Longshoremen's Association is going to go on strike tonight, basically. Why? Because they're fucking with their wages. Boeing is on strike because they're fucking with their wages. Like Lenin told us that if we do not connect our economic struggles with the struggles of our class siblings abroad, then the basic trade union economism. This is why we have to teach the masses the ABCs of proletarian internationalism, because a lot of these people don't know, okay? Americans are notoriously ignorant. A lot of these people don't know where Lebanon is. A lot of these people don't even know where Palestine is, okay? So it's not entirely the fault of the masses. It's the fault of the left because we're so busy organizing each other that we forget that our main task is to organize the masses. So in no circumstances do we place all of the blame on the masses. But we have to teach people. Like the Italians, the Spanish dock workers, the French, they have a proletarian internationalist, dare I say, communist conscience. They have been raising hell and refusing to send bombs to the Zionist regime for decades. Okay? So we have to build that type of struggle here in the United States. So, yeah, killed in conjunction with the United States. Why? Because that's what America does. American manufactured 2,000-pound bombs were likely used in the Israeli attack that killed Hezbollah's leader, Hassan Nasrallah, in Beirut on Friday night, according to a review of footage showing the operation and its aftermath by CNN and munitions experts. A video published by the Israeli military on Saturday showed jets it said were used to carry out the attack, carrying at least 15 2,000-pound bombs, including the U.S.-made Blue 109, according to Trevor Ball, a former senior explosive ordnance technician for the U.S. Army who reviewed the footage for CNN. The bombs, known colloquially as bunker busters, I remember these from the Iraq War because I was a weird fucking kid that sat and watched war footage. But they used these, like they basically schlonged Baghdad with these. So they dropped this on a southern suburb where Hassan Nasrallah and the rest of his comrades were, Hezbollah headquarters, and they had bunkers underground. That's why they used these. 15 of them, 2,000-pound bombs, made a massive hole, which I will show you later. But the bombs, known colloquially as bunker busters for their ability to penetrate deep underground before they detonate, were also fitted with the U.S.-made Joint Direct Attack Munition, JDAM, a precision guidance kit that converts unguided or dumb bombs into smart munitions that can precisely strike a target, according to Ball. Okay, so this is a contradiction. If they have JDAM capacity, if they have the ability to basically like, okay, this guy is here, let's just carve out a piece of this apartment building like a piece of cake, right? This just shows it's not about the hostages. It's not about taking out Hamas and Hezbollah. It's about sowing chaos. If they had the ability to use smart bombs, then why the fuck have they leveled pretty much all of Gaza? Because their goal is not just to take out Hamas and Hezbollah. If their goal is to take out Hamas and Hezbollah, why are they attacking the West Bank, where there is neither Hamas nor Hezbollah? Because their goal is the ethnic cleansing of the Palestinian people. You cannot beat a protracted war, okay? You cannot beat a guerrilla war by conventional methods. You blow up a block or several blocks with 15 2,000-pound bombs. That's not going to wipe out Hezbollah. That's not going to wipe out Hamas. What that is going to do is create more militants. You've made hundreds of orphans. You've made hundreds of orphans. I saw a study which showed that a lot of these kids that join Hamas, they're orphans. They have nobody. So the movement takes them and raises them and trains them to be people's fighters. So that's what happens when you make martyrs, okay? And they've made a hell of a big one by striking Lebanon. And they haven't stopped. They haven't stopped after what they keep claiming was the decapitation of Hezbollah, which is not the case, okay? Like, if you know anything about guerrilla movements, you cannot take out a guerrilla movement by arresting or murdering one guy, okay? They're rooted in the people. So the only way, really, that you can defeat a guerrilla movement is to drain the sea in which the fish swim, or basically commit ethnic cleansing and genocide, which Israel is trying to do. So they have this capacity, but they would much prefer to just blow up everything in Lebanon, blow up everything in Gaza. Other types of large bombs may have been used in the operation, Ball added, but only the Blue 109s were visible in the footage. The munitions contained 535 pounds of explosives, significantly less than the Mk-84s, another type of 2,000-pound bomb frequently used by the Israeli military. Blue 109s give up explosive weight to be able to penetrate targets better than an Mk-84. Video and imagery that CNN geolocated to the scene of the attack in Beirut's southern suburbs known as Dahia show a large, deep crater surrounded by rubble from destroyed buildings. A CNN analysis of video and satellite imagery confirmed 4 multi-story apartment buildings were leveled in the attack. So, yeah, that's what happened. And, of course, Israel has not stopped. They continue to sow chaos in Lebanon, and there's talk of a possible Israeli ground military incursion into the country later on tonight. So, big evil doings, but it won't stop until we stop it. We in the Imperial Corps, we have a duty to assist our comrades in Lebanon and assist our comrades in Palestine. We cannot just put our own narrow-minded interests ahead of the well-being of the global proletariat.
لكم جميعا للعدو للصديق للعالم الكلي. إنكم لا تستطيعون القضاء على حزب الله، كما أنكم لن تستطيعوا القضاء على حركات المقاومة الشريفة في فلسطين. لن تستطيعوا ذلك أبدا. لأن المقاومة ليست جيشا نظاميا.
What did I just say? You cannot beat an unconventional guerrilla army with conventional means.
ولأن المقاومة هي بالدرجة الأولى شعب يملك الإيمان ويملك الإرادة ويملك الثقة بالنصر ويعشق الاستشهاد ويرفض الذل والهوان. هذا شعب لا يمكن لأحد أن يلحق به الهزيمة. يمكن أن نقتل رجاله ونساءه وأطفاله وشيوخه، يمكن أن نهدم مبانيه ومساكنه على رؤوسه، ولكننا لا يمكن أن نهزمه. ومعنا أيضا أؤكد لكم المقاومة لن تنكسر والمقاومة لن تهزم.
Beautiful words. I consider Hassan Nasrallah a sterling friend of the Black people in the United States and in Africa and in the diaspora. And like, we need more leaders like him. Like, we need leaders of principle and moral standing, and not a bunch of crooks like Al Sharpton. Like, these guys are not leaders. Who decided that Al Sharpton is going to be the leader of Black people? Why do they always summon this guy when youth in places like St. Louis and Minneapolis and Los Angeles and Miami rise up? Because they know that he's perfect damage control. That's what they use people like that as, damage control. So we need less damage control and more saltine control, I guess you could say. So is Vice President Kamala Harris, who seeks to become President Kamala Harris, is she showing any sense of empathy or leadership or anything? No. She's basically a younger version of Biden. Read this garbage. Hassan Nasrallah was a terrorist with American blood on his hands. Across decades, his leadership of Hezbollah destabilized the Middle East and led to the killing of countless innocent people in Lebanon, Israel, Syria, and around the world. I did not know that Hassan Nasrallah had been president of the United States. Destabilized the Middle East. We did that. Led to the killing of countless innocent people in Lebanon, Israel, Syria, and around the world. People have talked about the 1983 barracks bombing that killed, I think, around 200 Marines. What the fuck were Marines doing in Lebanon in the first place? Today, Hezbollah's victims have a measure of justice. And when is there going to be a measure of justice for the millions of people that have died because of the United States? And that's just directly. That's not counting the tens of millions of people who have died because of our sanctions and our habit of starving countries that we don't like to death. Have an unwavering commitment to the security of Israel. We all know that's why we're not voting for you. I will always support Israel's right to defend itself against Iran and Iran-backed terrorist groups such as Hezbollah, Hamas, and Nasrallah, also known as the Houthis. President Biden and I do not want to see conflict in the Middle East escalate into a broader regional war. We have been working on a diplomatic solution along the Israel-Lebanon border so that people can safely return home on both sides of that border. Diplomacy remains the best path forward to protect civilians and achieve lasting stability in the region. So did she say anything? Like, did she criticize the pager attacks where thousands of civilians were literally fucking maimed? No, she did not, because she doesn't give a fuck. She's not even in Appalachia. She's not even in fucking Asheville, North Carolina, okay? If you don't know anything about the geography of North Carolina, mountains do not get hurricanes typically, okay? Mountains are not supposed to have hurricanes, but climate change, generations of government neglect, and infrastructure being gutted have demonstrated that the mountains, as a matter of fact, do have hurricanes now. And never mind the situation that Atlanta, which Kamala Harris is always a fan of visiting, she goes to Atlanta because she needs more than a few votes to be a viable candidate. She hasn't said shit about a literal chemical explosion in the city that she loves to visit, that she claims she is keen to represent. Hey, look.
Troops to the Middle East.
Mr. President.
Let's see what he has to say. Does he show leadership? Does he demonstrate like that he deserves to be president of the United States? Does he deserve that he deserves anything besides eternal suffering? Let's see.
President, has Netanyahu gone too far?
Any comment on the strikes in Yemen, Mr. President?
Hold on. Fix this.
Mr. President, will you deploy more U.S. troops to the Middle East?
Mr. President, has Netanyahu gone too far?
Any comment on the strikes in Yemen, Mr. President?
CNN's C-SPAN's cameras and shit. I can't even see what he's saying. What does he say? I've spoken to both sides. He's talking to Nasrallah now. They're going to settle the strike. I'm supporting the collective bargaining effort. I think they'll settle. He's talking about an entirely different, bruh. They're talking about missile strikes. He thinks they're talking about the fucking longshoreman strike. Keeping this man in a position like this is literal elder abuse. Why is it, bruh? Where is he at? Like when all this shit is going on, where is he at? Hold on. Oh. There we go.
Rockdale County, our breaking news there. Evacuations this morning, concerns about chemicals in the air after a fire at Biotech. This is just off I-20 on Old Covington Highway, about 25.
We heard nothing about the workers that were like, there were people there. Like, this is not an empty facility. So these workers are possibly going to have cancer. Like, we know there was chlorine gas there. Okay, you can't breathe that stuff. But what else was in that facility? Like, they're covering shit up already. Like, what else was in there? Like, people have the right to know. Why would you place something like that in an area where people live around anyways?
5 miles southeast of the city of Atlanta. The Rockdale County Sheriff's Office.
How far? How far from Atlanta?
Miles southeast of the city at Biotech. This is just off I-20 on Old Covington Highway, about 25 miles southeast of the city of
25 miles. So basically in Atlanta. Atlanta's a huge, sprawling fucking city. This is an Atlanta suburb. So people that lived around here, like, you could literally, this looks like some day after tomorrow shit. People that live around this place, like, they're probably going to end up with cancer. They're probably like asthmatics. They're probably fucked. This is bad. Where is our government's leadership?
city of Atlanta. The Rockdale County Sheriff's Office put out a public service announcement warning people about
what the fuck?
This fire and road closures. You see in the picture here, thick, dark smoke. Now they're asking people to stay inside because of that smoke, asking people to close their windows to minimize exposure to hazardous materials. One woman we talked to who lives about a mile away tells 11 Alive News she got a...
Why do you have people living a mile away? Why would you put this where people live? Why would you put this where people live? People should not live within a mile, 10 miles of a fucking chemical plant that stores chlorine gas. Apparently the sprinklers malfunctioned and it fell on some of these chemicals, triggering this explosion. How do I think climate change will affect St. Louis? Well, St. Louis is inland. So we definitely get a lot of tornadoes. The year before I was born, 1993. I was born in 94. So massive flood in 93. I think it came all the way up to the top of the steps at the Arch, if you're familiar with St. Louis. Hey, I was wondering when you would be back. I have a life. I have things to do. I actually helped run STL DSA's table at Tower Grove Pride last year. So we have two prides. We have a corporate pride, which was sponsored by Boeing this year, which was disrupted by Palestinian solidarity activists. And then we have like a more, I guess you would say, alternative working class pride, which is always held in Tower Grove Park around this time of year. Most people in the know go to the Tower Grove one because downtown one sucks. But how do I think climate change will affect St. Louis? I think we're going to get a lot of climate refugees. We're going to get a lot of climate refugees. Let's like when New Orleans and Miami and Orlando and all these cities are underwater. Yeah, They're going to move inland. The upper Great Lakes region, Chicago, Milwaukee, Minnesota. Like a lot of people are already buying land up there to build houses on. But yeah, you've got to be an idiot if you go try to move to or buy land in Florida or anywhere along the Gulf Coast right now, and you're young, because you're going to be old enough to experience more and more fuck shit, and you'd have just pissed your money away. So yeah, don't buy land in Florida unless you just have it to throw away.
The door at 7 a.m. that she needed to evacuate right away. We want to take you through a live look from our crews on the outskirts of that scene. This is a perspective looking towards the facility, and our crew there tells us it's hard to see kind of against the white of the clouds in that sky, but they do see smoke in the sky coming from the lab. Here's what we know about BioLab. It's a facility in Conyers. It's a company that manufactures pool and spa treatment products like
chlorine, which is a toxic gas. I believe they used it in World War I.
Interstate.
Imagine suffocating and drowning in your own phlegm, and the last thing you smell is a fucking pool. World War I sucked.
20 is in that area. There was an incident in September of 2020 where it was.
This is not the first incident at this facility.
Was closed for a bit because of smoke from the plant as well. So we're hearing from viewers again who've been evacuated. Police going door to door earlier this morning. Right now, people still being told.
And where are these people supposed to go? That's like when Israel gets ready to bomb a place like 15 minutes before they start the bombing. They're like, everybody has to go. Where you got to go? We don't know, but because we blew up everything. But yeah, go sleep outside somewhere. Like the utter lack of concern for the lives of this country's citizens, it's like a hallmark of the American government. Like, why should we vote for Kamala Harris? Why has she not said anything about this? Why has Biden not said anything about the shit? This man was, when asked about the strikes in Yemen, the Israeli strikes in Yemen, he thought they were talking about a workers' strike. These people are fucking clueless. They do not give a fuck about you. You know where Kamala Harris was last night when half of Appalachia is underwater? She was hanging out in Hollywood with Oprah and other assorted friends. These people live in an entirely different world than you do. They do not care about you. They don't even know the contradictions exist. They think that Americans are stupid people who only vote every 4 years and believe whatever they're told. That's what they think of you.
To stay inside, there's the potential of hazardous material in the air.
It's not a potential. There is hazardous material. Why are you lying to
Western
people?
North Carolina
Then you've got this.
is reeling from
It's like this country is being fucking punished for our assistance in the death of Sayed Nasrallah.
Hurricane Helene's deadly wrath.
Oh my God.
See, this is not the coast, by the way. This is not the coast. This is the mountains. We get hurricanes in the mountains now. Allah is punishing us.
And desperately waiting for help in the city of Asheville, streets are still underwater. Neighborhoods unrecognizable.
Oh my God.
Some people kayaking to
Kayaking. If you don't know anything about Asheville, it's basically like the Colorado Springs of North Carolina. North Carolina is actually one of the most like liberal or progressive, I guess you could call it, states in the U.S. But yeah, Asheville is a pretty alternative type area. A lot of liberals, a lot of radicals even. It's like the Vermont of the South. close some of these tabs. Jesus, it's like I'm in a fucking hurricane zone.
Surrounded by rushing water.
Yeah, that's what's going on. Let me find some videos on Twitter because I don't know what the fuck is going on with YouTube. I think that's what I get for using Wi-Fi, but whatever. Here we go. I love how, why are these people laughing and joking? Like, what about the homeless? Like, after Katrina, there were thousands of people who got swept away. Nobody cared because they were fucking homeless. Like, nobody went to go look for them. Nobody went to go search for them. They had no living family. So, yeah, they're probably, the remains are sitting at the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico because nobody cared. How many homeless people died? Like, there's already, I think the death toll in this is already over 100. And that's just the people that they know about. There's a lot of people that we'll never know about because nobody gave a fuck about them. We all read through the text. We know the
only goes back so far, and I've been here.
Again, this is not supposed to happen here. Like, everybody that I know in Appalachia, like, they were surprised by this. Like, why weren't you guys prepared? Because we didn't fucking know. We're not New Orleans. We're literally in the mountains. We're more prepared for the earthquake than we are for this. Atlanta is more prepared for a hurricane than they are for this. Like, nobody expects this shit. How do you respond? How do you deal with shit like this? This literally looks like somebody dropped a bomb on it. Is Kamala building up the productive forces? Kamala isn't doing anything. She's not building up anything. How are the war drums in America? I mean, should I pack my shit and move out and go where? Where are you going to go? And then when you get to that place, you are going to find the same exact contradictions there because America is a global power. You cannot escape. The only way you can escape from the shit that America does is by destroying America. I'm pretty sure we've all got that notion right now, no? She's building vibes and she's spreading joy. There's a traffic jam because everybody's stopping to look at this shit. All those people in those cars, like, you ride by that shit depending on which way the wind is blowing. Yeah. You've been exposed. In a couple months, maybe a couple years, maybe a couple decades, your lungs are going to start burning and you're going to start falling out because of this shit, because you stopped to look at it on the highway, or because you worked in this Motel 6, or because you lived in one of these buildings, or because you were walking across this overpass. That's how shit like this works. And we have no contingency plans. We have no plans to deal with stuff like this. Why? Because Americans have a government that doesn't give a fuck. All oppressed people have the right to violence. Violence is the only way that this shit is going to end. Buy a ticket to Mars, yeah. Share a fucking spacecraft with Elon Musk. Maybe he'll let you be his slave. Maybe he'll let you scrape his bunions. Who knows? I convinced somebody to join Detroit DSA. That's good. That should be one of our most proletarian chapters. Detroit has a history of class struggle. So, yeah. This is where Kamala Harris is, while you, depending on where you are in this country, suffer. This is what you get. She is she was last night at a star-studded fundraiser claiming that it's good to be home. She did not say a word about what's going on in Atlanta. She did not say a word about what's going on in Asheville, North Carolina, Buncombe County. She did not say a word about what's going on in Yemen. She did not say a word about what's going on in Gaza. She did not say a word about what's going on in the West Bank. She did not share a word about what's going on in Lebanon. She did not say shit about Hassan Nasrallah. She did not say anything about the struggles of average, ordinary, everyday people. Who is she hanging out with? Stevie Wonder, Sterling K. Brown, Lily Tomlin, Demi Lovato, Keegan-Michael Key, Jessica Alba, Alanis Morissette, Holly Bailey. Inside the event, press was only allowed in for Harris's remarks. The presidential candidate took the stage to Beyonce's hit song Freedom, alongside an announcer declaring, "Please welcome our next president of the United States," to a standing ovation from the crowd. "Oh, it's good to be home," Harris responded to the applause. Though she grew up in Oakland, she has deep ties to Los Angeles, still owning a home in Brentwood with her husband, second gentleman, Doug Emhoff. What does any of this mean? What does any of this mean? So many brown faces in high places. I think I wrote an article a few years back talking about like how fascism in the United States is going to be a multinational thing. But yeah, it's just vibes. It's just noise. You're not going to get anything concrete from these people. Like, you are an Eloy if you continue to tell yourself that you have to vote for these people. You don't have to vote for these people. You don't have to do anything. Like, quit allowing yourself to be gaslit. Quit allowing yourself to be manipulated. Have you guys ever seen a house that's literally bent? Like, this looks like something out of a Child's Bizarre World drawing. The wind whipped through this house. You can see how fucked up the blinds are. This house is uninhabitable. It's going to have to be knocked down. It is structurally unsound. There is no fuel for 60 miles. Power will be out for 2+ weeks. They turned off city water to over 300,000 houses. This is Augusta, Georgia, one of the cities of the Old South. Yeah, that's what's going on. That's how we're living. That's how you live when you're poor. That's how you live when you have a government that doesn't care about you. Black Mountain, North Carolina, there is no food being provided. There is no drinkable water being provided. Ingles, the only monopolized grocery store in the area, has their doors locked with no intent of opening for cash sales. Locals are banding together to try to feed each other. So this is Mad Max shit. This is Mad Max shit. You have people that are literally begging for help. You've got Ron DeSantis, people begging Ron DeSantis. You've got people begging Glenn Beck. You've got people begging Elon Musk. None of these people care about you. If you are a ranking law enforcement official in the area ravaged by Helene, tell your people to break down the doors at the markets and help distribute the food and water. Anything less is treason against your neighbors, and you deserve what happens to you. I agree. And this is what should happen. So it looks like water has been delivered. I don't think it was brought by this monopolized grocery store. Wait a minute. Yes, it is. So I guess the Twitter outrage worked, and now the store is giving out free groceries. They shouldn't have had to like be hounded to do
I've
this.
seen a lot of helicopters and stuff, so I know a lot of people's out there trying to help. So
yeah, most of this initial assistance was provided by the masses. You know what I like? I really like when left orgs work together. I also really like when my organization DSA works with groups like Socialist Rifle Association. I actually interviewed this chapter, Upstate New York SRA, a couple years ago. I think you can still find it on my YouTube page. But yeah, a lot of interest has been shown. You've got chapter, I believe that's Vermont next to New York. You've got chapters and groups in a variety of areas that have demonstrated interest or have hosted trainings that are being conducted by Socialist Rifle Association. So it's good that people are already preparing for Trump to get reelected. So that's good. You have to be prepared. As when it doesn't make sense to try and get prepared after the storm is already here.
is it right here?
Like, this literally looks like the entire fucking town is on fire. People actually eat this shit. No wonder people were in such a rush to leave England. But this is what was happening before Like, this is what pissed people off. You literally had cops that had barricaded the store to prevent people from getting the supplies they need. So basically, yeah, we'll fix it so you starve to death. That's me at Pride yesterday. Armed minorities are harder to oppress. I don't know what's up with that smile, but I'm not really that good at taking candid photos. I'm sorry. So, account of meeting Hassan Nasrallah from Edward Said. I was in Lebanon for a summer visit. I gave 2 lectures and stayed with family and friends. And I had a meeting with Hezbollah spiritual leader Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah, who I found to be a remarkably impressive man. A very simple man, quite young, absolutely no bullshit. A man who adopted a strategy towards Israel quite similar to that of the Vietnamese against the Americans. We cannot fight them because they have an army, a navy, and a nuclear option. So the only way we can do it is to make them feel it in body bags. And that's exactly what he did. In the one conversation that we had, I was impressed by the fact that among all the political leaders I met in the Middle East, he alone was precisely on time and there were no people waving around Kalashnikovs. We agreed that as far as reclaiming Palestinian rights, the Oslo Accord was a total mess. Then he told me that I must go down south, and so I did a few days later. So that's how you want to be remembered by history. You want to be remembered as a humble person. You want to be remembered as a person that stood for the people. You want to be remembered as a person that died for the people. And Nasrallah did not just die for his own people. He did not just die for the Lebanese people. He died for every oppressed person around the world. He died because he refused to make a deal with Israel to secure a phony peace for Lebanon while his Palestinian brothers and sisters continued to suffer. That is proletarian revolution. That is international solidarity. And no, Nasrallah was not a proletarian, he was not a proletarian revolutionary theoretician or anything like that, okay? But at the same time, he still had a better understanding of anti-imperialism than most people who call themselves communists. Like some of the, if I would tell you all about some of the weird ass discussions I've had around anti-colonialism and anti-imperialism in DSA, you're fucking, it'd be like a cartoon. Your eyebrows would hit the ceiling. But that's because people don't do the reading. Do the reading. Be like Hassan Nasrallah. And don't inhale chlorine gas. Peace.